Welcome, everyone. My name is Rob Seidemann. I'm the Executive Director of May We Help, and I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight as we celebrate May We Help's 10-year anniversary. Also, thank you so much to Tire Discounters for sponsoring our keynote presentation tonight, for looking out for the community the way you do, and for always being there for May We Help since inception. Always being there to ensure that our programming and our services are always growing and expanding to meet the needs of the community that we serve. And that's exactly what we've been doing, growing and expanding. 10 years ago, May We Help consisted of its 3 founders. We fondly refer to them as the 3 Bills, and a handful of volunteer recruits cranking out 5-10 projects a year for folks, for friends and family and friends of friends and friends of family members. And now, 10 years later, we are a team of over 75 volunteers representing every imaginable skill set. Engineers, industrial designers, inventors, welders, woodworkers, seamstresses, doctors, occupational therapists, physical therapists, all of whom come together to design, build, and deliver now hundreds of solutions every year to clients who never have to pay a penny across 36 different states in our very own workshop that you can see here behind me. And that's just our core programming. In the last 2 years alone, we've implemented 3 new programs that meet specific needs in the community. One of them, our adaptive equipment swap. In fact, we held one of those today. But we started that adaptive equipment swap in March of last year, and it has already matched over 275 people with well over $1 million of life-changing adaptive equipment. And given that, it's our 10-year anniversary, right? So we had to think big in terms of who we selected to be our keynote presenter. And that's why we asked none other than Mike Schultz, who race fans fondly refer to as Monster Mike. But before I turn things over to Mike, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about how the evening is going to progress so you can plan accordingly. But Mike's going to show us an amazing video he put together for us. Then he's going to tell his amazing story for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then after that, there will be a live Q&A. So please send us your questions and we'll get them to Mike and he'll answer them. And just before we begin, I also want to do a big shout out to Dave Emery, the headmeister at Big Ash Brewing, and everybody at Big Ash who is tuning in there to watch Mike's live stream presented on the big screen at Big Ash Brewing. So woo, thanks everybody at Big Ash. And now let's focus on Mike. Mike is a 10-time ESPN X Games gold medalist. I mean, that's just a feat in itself right there. But he didn't just win those golds in one sport. He won them in motocross, he won them in snowcross, and he won them in snow biking. Once again, just an amazing feat. And when he was done doing that, after he did that, and then following an accident, which required the amputation of one of his legs, he then went on in 2018 to win gold and silver at the Paralympic Games in South Korea. And he didn't do that in motocross, snow bikes, or snowcross. He did that in yet another sport, a 4th sport, snowboarding. But that's just how Mike rolls. Mike sets down paths that nobody else has taken before. He overcomes every single obstacle that comes his way. And then he just seems to rise to the top of the podium wherever life seems to take him. And not just competitively, but professionally too. Mike is the founder and president of BioDapt. BioDapt builds custom, high-performing prosthetics for world-class athletes all over the world. So with that, I'm so excited and so honored to be able to introduce you to and turn things over to none other than Monster Mike Schultz.
And when you put on the red, white, and blue jersey for Team USA, it's more than just a jersey. It means that you're part of something bigger. Representing your country, and I have the possibility of making our national anthem play on top of the podium at the 2018 Winter Paralympics in South Korea. At a young age, I realized that I was a competitor. Like, if somebody was able to do something better than I did, I wanted to go out there and I wanted to step it up a notch. It was the competition of it, you know, beating the rest of the competitors on the racetrack, and it was, you know, pushing yourself, hitting that big jump, seeing how far you can fly. In 2008, I was at the top of my career, and I had a wreck during a competition, and I knew it was bad. It was a compound fracture in my left leg. After a few surgeries, doctors basically told me, we've got a tough decision here. We think it's best to amputate your leg just above the knee in order to save your life. You know, we kind of thought to ourselves, I'm like, now what? I mean, I'm a professional athlete, and I just had my leg amputated. I've always been a problem solver, worked in the shop trying to figure out how things work, and what better thing to focus on than my leg. I started drawing a design, and then figured I had what I needed, and went out to the shop and started cutting parts. And about a week later, I had the first prototype Moto knee. And I tell you what, I was like a little kid. I was so excited. At that point, I knew that, you know, this is really going to work. I'm going to be able to get out and ride like I normally did. Me as an athlete, I'm able to still compete and train and do all these fun events, but I'm developing other equipment to help others achieve their goals as well. And over time, it's been extremely rewarding seeing other athletes being able to utilize our equipment to help them achieve their goals. Yeah, the excitement that other people show me when they're able to do something for the first time on equipment that we built, that's pretty good stuff. I want to go out there and be a great snowboarder. In general, I don't want to be a fast one-legged guy. I want to be a fast snowboarder, a fast motocross racer. It's about, you know, really pushing myself, but also not looking at myself as an adaptive athlete, but just overall a great athlete. And when I can go out and perform at a really high level with all the challenges that I'm facing with missing my leg, I mean, that's pretty strong. That's a huge motivator for me. It's like, I want to go out there and beat everybody, all right? I'm so looking forward to this focal point of Paralympics and trying to represent my country and have that national anthem play while I'm on top of the podium. That's what it's all about.
Paralympic champion, Mike Schultz. Monster goes big.
That was Mike Schultz for the men's snowboard cross standing LL1 event.
Hey everybody. Wow, every time I watch that video, it gets me all fired up and brings back all those great memories from that time. Well, first off, Rob, thank you so much for the invite to share my story here with you guys, and that great intro you did. Yeah, I liked it. Over the last several weeks leading into this, I really enjoyed getting to learn about May We Help organization and what you guys all do, and the people that you help out. It's and after our conversation that we had yesterday, we really think alike. I mean, we're problem solvers, creating solutions and tools that help people overcome physical challenges. I mean, what's more important and what's bigger than that? That's just awesome stuff. I'm sure you guys have the same feelings I do whenever you deliver a device to a recipient, and there's that moment when that recipient realizes they can now do something they thought they never could, or they're able to do it again after they thought they had lost it. It's such a powerful moment and a feeling, and I enjoy it, and I know you guys all do as well. I've, as far back as I can remember, I've had two passions in my life. One was the design and the creative side, the engineering, mechanical thinking. I absolutely love designing and building something, and then the ultimate payoff is when I get to try it out for the first time. My heart rate goes up, I get all excited. And then the other side of me is the competitor in me. I'm a go-getter. I'm a hard charger. When I have a challenge in front of me, I want to go after it and see how far I can push and how far I can take it. And then and then when somebody says, no, you can't do that. Well, of course, then I'm going to try 2 or 3 times harder to prove them wrong, right? So I've always been like that. And I got into racing when I was late into my teens. Started with motocross, and then that quickly evolved into snowmobile racing, snowcross, which is motocross on a snowmobile, bumps and jumps and elbow-to-elbow racing. Just enormous fun and excitement. And I knew this was something I really wanted to pursue and try to see how far I could take it. So I worked my tail off for several years, and then by 2005, 6, 7, I achieved my goal of becoming a professional and competing elbow to elbow with the best in the world, and landing on the podium a handful of times. I was a contender. Living that lifestyle was really crazy and exciting, and a roller coaster of emotions. It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. When things all come together, and it happens, you find yourself on the podium, it's all worth it, because you had to go through a lot to get there. In 2008, I'm pretty much at the height of my career, going into the second round of that season, December 13th, 2008. I lined up for the first qualifier. The green flag flew, and I got this horrible start, and I'm just charging my way through the pack. I get about halfway through the race. I'm trying to make a pass on somebody, and I hit a hole, and my snowmobile starts swapping side to side, and I get thrown from my machine and land feet first at about 40 miles an hour or so. And on impact, my left knee took the bulk of the hit and hyperextended 180 degrees in the wrong direction. I tumbled off to the side of the race course, and instantly excruciating pain. The EMTs got over to me. Meanwhile, I'm laying on my back, and my leg is all twisted, and they come up, and they obviously knew that it was broke, and they unzipped my pant leg to get a better look at it. And I just remember that sound, that rush of fluid that came out. And so on impact, it caused a compound fracture of my knee joint, and it severed the popliteal artery that supplies my lower leg. And things got real at that moment, and I was in a tough spot. They got me wrapped up in a sled, brought me down to the ambulance where my wife Sarah was waiting for me, and she's a nurse, so she instantly went into nurse mode and did whatever she could to manage the situation and keep me calm. We ended up going to the first hospital, which was just down the road, and unfortunately they weren't able to care for my situation. They tried to call in a life flight helicopter, but unfortunately a snowstorm had moved in, and they couldn't fly. So I had to get back in the ambulance and travel across northern Wisconsin to Duluth through a snowstorm. No pain medication on board. My blood pressure was bottomed out, so I couldn't have any pain meds. So I just had to grit and bear it. And we got to the hospital in Duluth. Doors swing open, and I could finally relax a little bit. I knew I was in good hands. Over the course of the next couple days, doctors did whatever they could to try and assess and fix the damage. On the 16th, they woke me up, or I wake up in the room with my family, Sarah standing over me, and the doctor comes in, and he's like, Mike, we got some stuff to talk about. I look down and my leg's still there. It's it's not a pretty sight, but he's like, so we're running into some major circulation complications, and we're pumping blood in, and it's pooling in your lower leg and not circulating back through your system. Your tissue's starting to die, your kidneys are shutting down, and you're in tough physical condition right now. And at this point, we think it's the best course of action to amputate your leg just above the knee. And I was completely broadsided by that comment. I didn't see that coming at all. I've been through lots of injuries through my career, and the doctors could always fix me up, bolt me back together. 6, 8, 10 weeks, I'm ready to rock and roll again. But unfortunately, it was a lot different this time. After continued conversations, we all understood that it was the right course of action. So I went into surgery later that afternoon, and they amputated my leg 3 inches above the knee. I spent a total of 13 days in the hospital, and over the course of the next several weeks, had a roller coaster of emotional and physical pain and challenges, dealing with my new situation. But I looked at it, or my wife and I, we both looked at it like, this is another injury. We are going to recover from it, whatever that may look like, step by step, and just keep going forward. And the first big step, emotionally and physically, was when I got fit for my first prosthesis. We were about 5.5 weeks out from when the injury happened. And I remember coming into the clinic and looking at my new prosthetic leg sitting there next to the wall. And, I just got a big old smile on my face. And over the course of the next hour and a half, I put it on and I learned how to walk in it, and basically was able to walk out of my first appointment, or my first fitting. And I got to ditch the crutches and, use a cane for a little bit. But it was an incredible feeling looking down at my feet, not foot, my feet, looking down at my feet. And, I felt whole again. And of course, I want to move quickly. So I continued walking, I'm like, yeah, this is good. And then next step, of course, is getting on my snowmobile and going for a ride. And, I figured out pretty quickly that, yes, I still enjoy riding snowmobiles, but this knee system is just not going to cut it if I want to ride more aggressive. So my wheels started turning a little bit. And, a month or two later, things really got interesting, because, I'm thinking mechanically, okay, I think I could design something, because I couldn't find anything else available. So, but things got really motivated, or things motivated me a lot when I heard about the ESPN Summer X Games having adaptive supercross, which is motocross racing for amputees and paraplegics. And I got wind of that. I'm like, that is my thing. How do I become part of that? What do I need to do? Well, first off, biggest challenge was I need to figure out the adaptive equipment that would allow me to ride like I used to, or as close to it. So I couldn't find what I needed. So I'm like, I'm a mechanical thinker. I'm going to design my own leg. And so I look back at all those experiences I had, working in the metal shop, working on my suspension components of my snowmobile and dirt bike, and working with all my physical trainers and therapists over the years. I understood body mechanics. So I put all those things together to solve this problem. And I got to work on the drawing board, and just a little over a month, 5 weeks or so, I had the first drawing, or, a series of drawings and parts. And it was time to go to the shop and start creating. It took me about a week in the metal shop. I actually learned the basics of turning and milling on this first Moto Knee project. And, the way I looked at it was, to solve this problem, I had 15 inches of space to work with. I needed the knee to flex 130 degrees, much like my natural knee does. And I wanted to use this mountain bike shock. It's a Fox mountain bike shock that uses compressed air as a spring rate. And so really adjustable component. So with all those things, that's what I designed the concept around. And I started cutting parts, and I spent about a week in the shop. And I just remember how excited I was at the end of the week when I was cutting those last parts and assemble it together. I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Going to get back on my dirt bike and do all the fun stuff that makes me smile. And assembled the leg, bounced up and down on it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. And then hopped on my dirt bike and went for that first ride. And within a minute, I'm, twist and grip. I'm flying down this rough section of the trail. I'm standing up on my foot pegs, balance side to side. And I got the biggest smile on my face because I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to X Games on my dirt bike. And it was just such a great feeling. And I did. I ended up qualifying at a race 5 months after the injury happened. X Games was 7 months after my injury. There I am in Los Angeles, California, the biggest action sports stage in the world, the X Games, and racing Supercross. And I didn't know what to think. My goal was to conquer the track, the race course, and things would play out however they would. I pushed myself. I pushed my equipment to the limit. I scared the Jesus out of myself a couple times, and but it all worked out. I did well. I came home with a silver medal, which honestly was as good as gold to me after everything I'd gone through. After that event, I continued development on my moto knee, and I realized that that so many of these other riders that I was competing against and made friends with, and leading up to that event, I'm like, they could really benefit from this kind of technology. So I saw an opportunity there to create a business, create equipment for others. In 2010, I started BioAdapt. It's our 10-year anniversary this year, and our focus would be creating the highest performing lower limb prosthetic equipment for action sports type activities. And we started with the Moto knee, and we've added the VersaFoot, which here's one of the latest Moto knee right here, and then the VersaFoot uses a shock in it as well. So very adjustable, and so this socket up here fits over my leg, and then as I shift weight into it, it all compresses down, and works really well. It allows me to get out there and rip. And so we were it was January 2011 at X Games. I'm racing snowmobiles, and this veteran named Keith comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I heard about this new Moto knee that you're using for dirt bikes and snowmobiles. Do you think it would work for snowboarding?" And I'm like, well, I'm not a snowboarder, but I'm thinking the mechanics of the movements and stuff. And I'm like, I think it probably would. Let me get back to you in a couple of weeks after I do some testing. So I went home and I learned how to snowboard. I promise you, it was not pretty. I hit the ground hard several times, but nonetheless, I learned a lot and learned that, yeah, this device will work for snowboarding if you have snowboarding skills. So I met up with Keith later that spring in Colorado, and we went for a ride. And on the very first run, he'd been using different equipment up to this point, so he was a skilled snowboarder, but he was able to put this Moto knee on and just shred down the mountain on the very first run. And I have no hope to keep up with him. I finally catch up with him down at the bottom of the mountain, and he gives me this hugest high five and says, "Dude, I haven't snowboarded this good since I had two good legs, since I had two good real legs." And that was a defining moment for me. Like, that was the first real reaction that I got from somebody that just used my device that I built. And I'm helping somebody else achieve their goals from something I designed and built. And that was a pretty cool feeling. And I continued to snowboard after that point. And me being the competitor I am, I got talked into racing border cross for the first time, and that's scary. But so basically, border cross is motocross racing on a snowboard without the handlebars and the race gas. Intense stuff, head to head, elbow to elbow, racing. And I did pretty well. I learned quickly, and in 2014, I had a conversation with the U.S. Paralympic team coach, and he's like, "Hey, I saw you racing the other day or the other weekend, and I think you could take this somewhere if you really commit to it." I'm thinking Paralympics in 2018, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool." Paralympics, Team USA. I thought about it, but the reality is I'm a motorsports guy. I'm from Minnesota. There's not a whole lot of places to train for border cross. And I'm just like, man, there's so many reasons, that it wasn't the right direction for me with everything else I had going on. And, then I really think about it, and I have conversations with my wife, Sarah. And, I think about those Olympics that I've watched and seen the athletes win gold and be on the podium, and those raw emotions on their face when everything goes right, and they hear that national anthem play and the tears running down. I mean, that's got to be a pretty powerful moment. So we're like, we can't pass this up. We gotta give it a try and see where it could take us. And so I went forward with competing on the World Cup tour with the team. And over the next few years, some ups and downs. I had an injury in early 2015 that almost sidelined me for good from the snowboard. I could hardly walk, and I much less compete at the same level I did before. But I powered through it, and we get a year out from the games, and I'm still on the fence a little bit. I'm struggling, and then I'm like, I don't know if I want to continue. And then we have those same conversations again about, well, what if? We've got a lot invested in this right now. It's a huge commitment over the course of the next year, but I think we got to keep trying. So from that point forward, 100% committed to being the best snowboarder I could be. And the following season, leading into the games, I had my best season ever. I went undefeated in border cross, and earned my spot on the official U.S. Paralympics team. And there we were in March in Pyeongchang, South Korea, Team USA, red, white, and blue, competing. And we get to our border cross competition day, and I wake up and I'm just like, I'm a nervous wreck. I got butterflies in my stomach. I can't think straight. I'm like, pull yourself together, Mike. You know how to do this. You've been at big events before. Focus on the task at hand, and it'll all work out. So I calm myself down and hit the day charging forward, and I make it through with the qualifying. I mean, it was intense, cutthroat. It's bracket racing. You win, you move forward, you lose, and sorry, dude, pack your bags, you're going home. But I was able to make it through into that gold medal round. I go up to the top of the start gate. This is it. It was me against the Netherlands, Chris Voss. And, definitely had some nerves, and, calmed myself down, focused on my run, grabbed the start handles, and the gate drops and I yank out with everything I have. Quick feet, good smooth lines. We get to the end of the first section, and I hear a board go. I'm like, oh, did he crash? No, focus forward. Focus on the race course. So I'm hitting my lines, smooth edges, quick feet, perfect lines, fast, smooth. We get 3/4 of the way down, and I look over my shoulder around a right-hand corner. I'm like, oh, he's not there. I'm like, no, focus forward. Not done yet. Go over the last jump down across the finish line, and I just have become a gold medalist for Team USA. And man, it was the most incredible, overwhelming feeling of accomplishment that I've ever had up to that point. It wasn't because I just won gold in a snowboarding event at the Paralympics. It was everything that I had been through and everything that I had accomplished to get to that point, and then achieve my goal of performing the best while the ultimate pressure was on. I come to a stop down in the finish line corral, and I look up on this big 30-foot wide TV screen, and there's my wife, Sarah, jumping up and down, tears coming out of her face, screaming. And I'm like, we just won gold, babe. And this moment was just as huge to her as it was for me, because she'd been by my side, through all of it, thick and thin, ups and downs. Later that evening, we go to the medal ceremony, and it's my turn. It's my shot. I get to walk front and center stage. I receive my gold medal, and I watch the red, white, and blue flag raise up on the center pole, and listen to our national anthem play, my national anthem play. And it brings goosebumps for sure. It's the most incredible feeling an athlete can ever have. A couple days later, we line up for our second event, which is bank slalom, which is a race against the clock through a series of turns and berms. I raced well. I came behind my teammate Noah, and I ended up getting a silver medal. He won gold, but I was pretty stoked either way because, well, obviously silver is a silver medal, but also I built Noah's leg for him, and my company BioDAP sponsors them. So it was definitely a win-win for Monster Mike and BioDAP for sure. So the Paralympic Games for me was so much more than just me winning my medals and competing. It was also about all the other athletes that were there wearing my equipment, or the equipment that I had built. There was a total of 15 from around the world. And of those 15, 9 of us brought home a total of 11 medals. And, that by itself is, just an incredible feeling of accomplishment for, what I had created through my prosthetic devices and all the amazing people I got to work with. It was such a special week in Pyeongchang. And, throughout my entire career, I've had so much support to bring me to this point. I mean, my family is always behind me, my teammates and my team staff members, my sponsors, but also, through the years, there's been some fundraising that have helped us in a time of need. Right after my injury happened, my racing family and community got together and did this big fundraiser for me. And, the money that we raised there helped me take the time to recover. It helped me create my moto knee, which ultimately ended up in me starting my company, BioDAP. And what you guys are doing here with May We Help, each one of you has a special spot. Whether you're an expert in the shop or you're promoting the organization, or you donors out there who are being so generous to help out this cause. I mean, you guys are helping create these devices that are going to make an extremely positive impact on the recipients. It's making them more mobile, more active, in so many things, in so many ways that we take for granted, or a lot of us take for granted, but it's an enormous game changer for them. So kudos to you guys in this organization for what you're all doing. And, it might not only help them be mobile and more active, but, who knows, maybe it'll help them, help out of this little kid become an athlete, which eventually becomes part of Team USA and competing for a gold medal. Now, wouldn't that be rad, huh? Well, that's all I have to share with you with my story. But I know you guys probably have a lot of questions for me after hearing my story, and so I'm going to send it back to you, Rob. What do you got?
That was awesome, Mike. Thank you so much. I didn't get a chance to tell everybody, but I used to live in Colorado. In fact, I lived in Aspen for 25 years, and my family and I watched Mike compete over the years. And the things that Mike was doing were so ferocious that I never would have dreamed that behind that helmet there was such a big and friendly smile. So it was great to see. All right, awesome. If anybody has some questions for Mike, now's the time to ask them. And just below your video is your Q&A bar. Just make sure that you type your question into that. But the first one came in. Curious about your self-designed moto knee. Mike, is it available to other amputees? What else has Mike designed?
Well, so originally I designed it for myself to get me back on the motocross bike. And then eventually, I knew others could benefit from it. So I revised the design a little bit. And so, now the Moto knee can be purchased through my company, Biodapt. And we also have a VersaFoot that goes with it that can be used by either above knee and below knee amputees. And we got exciting stuff, new equipment coming this year. We've got another version of the VersaFoot, a heavy duty model, and then also a specific downhill ski foot. It's been a lot of fun to develop these equipment. Most of it comes from me and what I want to do. And then once I get it dialed in for myself, then I will launch it with my company, Biodapt, so others can benefit from it too.
All right. Another question. How many Moto knees have you designed? And are you considering making a, quote, basic one for general usage?
So the original motor design hasn't changed for, it's been about 10 years now. Well, 9 years since the last major overhaul, which we're actually launching a new one here in the near future, in the next several months, 6 months or so. But so there's people that use these for recreational skiing, snowboarding, dirt bikes, ATVs. I mean, you don't have to be a high-level athlete to utilize their stuff. It's, the bulk of the use is from recreational, just hobby, skiing, snowboarding, horseback riding. So if you're above knee amputee, you would want to use the Moto knee in sport situations. It doesn't really work the best for everyday use since it doesn't function very well as a walking knee. But when you want to do the high impact sports, that's when you want to use our knee and foot system.
Thanks, Mike. Customizing your gear for sports is so important. Can you speak to how that translates to your adaptive equipment?
Yeah, being an adaptive athlete, everything is about equipment and how it works for you. And the stuff that we build is there's not a lot of customization to it. There's a lot of custom calibration, but all of our knee system, our Moto knee and VersaFoot, like there's the knee. So that doesn't change from person to person. It's calibrated different, but we, like, for example, if you're a shorter or a taller individual, you just change the space between the knee and the foot system. And then we also have different sole plates that's my personal one. That one's not too pretty, but there's a right and left, and there's different sole options depending on the activities. I guess, being a high-level athlete is when you really start to figure out those fine adjustments and calibrations. I don't know. I kind of rambled here a little bit, but I think I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you. This one probably came from one of our volunteers. Do you have a favorite person that you worked with, or a favorite device that you created? The one that was the most rewarding for you.
That was a hard one for sure, because I've worked with so many incredible athletes. Early on, Keith Deutsch, the veteran that I met at X Games, and he kind of turned me into a snowboarder by figuring out if this device would work for snowboarding. I mean, that was probably the most memorable one, because that's kind of what started a lot of things for me. And then I guess another really rewarding one was just all the athletes that I worked with at the Paralympic Games. Being there to help fit them with our devices, and then be there with them when they're won medals at the Paralympic Games. I mean, that overall was just an incredible moment, and definitely hard to choose just one. That's for sure.
Cool. Do a lot of veterans use your devices?
Yeah, that's when things really got rolling, we were in 2010, 11, 12, 13. At that point, well over half of our sales were going to veterans, and through the military channels like Walter Reed and BAMC down in San Antonio, and then Balboa down in San Diego. Since things have slowed down on the military side, I would say right now it's probably about 50-50 of civilians and veterans.
Thank you. At this point in your career, after years of competing and achieving many of your goals and medals, what keeps you motivated?
Yeah, that's a good question. I ask myself that quite often as well, because I'm no spring chicken anymore. And I have accomplished a lot in a lot of different areas. So winning another medal isn't really about winning another medal. It's about pushing myself further, learning more. See, the thing that I really love about competition is me continually learning and getting better. And it's the challenge of that gets me excited to see, okay. So for example, the Paralympics coming up in 2022, I'll be 40 at that point, and my competitors are going to be in their early 20s. And yeah, that's a motivator in itself, because I still got it. This old guy still got it. So yeah, there's, depending on the goal, the motivators are a little bit different. But I just like learning and pushing myself and seeing how far I can take it, because that's the challenge about that is typically what keeps me going.
Very cool. Thank you. Next question. You've accomplished so much. What was the most humbling moment for you? Was it learning to snowboard?
Yeah. Yep. That's true. Because, the dirt bikes and snowmobiles, I was very high level, professional level, and then I got injured. So it was pretty easy to adapt and learn to ride again. But, or I wouldn't say easy, but it was easier. Yeah. Snowboarding slapped me in the face over and over and over again. Still to this day, when I'm snowboarding, sometimes I find myself in certain situations where what the heck am I doing here? I just feel like I can't even go down the hill straight. It's challenging. I mean, on the motorsports, I got handlebars I can hang on to and help balance and, move my body around. But on the snowboard, it's just your feet on top of the board, and everything comes from your legs and your hips and your shoulders. And if you don't have that right, it's game over real quick.
All right. Given your performance, do you think someone with your moto knee should be able to compete in the regular, quote, Olympics?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long shot for sure. We could, if somebody had the skills. Right now, the functionality of the moto knee is definitely nowhere near what your real leg is capable of. So, I mean, it's a long shot, but maybe in the future, we can develop some equipment that would, even, bring the playing field up a little closer. But yeah, right now it's there's things that your real legs can do that prosthetic devices never will. And when you're at that level, at the top elite level, I mean, it's every single detail is what makes the best of the best athletes perform the best. So to try and match that with a mechanical device is pretty tricky.
This question came in from Mike. This came in from one of We Help's founders, Bill Dimely. Has the VA or any other branch of the government contacted you about helping financially with veterans?
Hey, Bill. Nice to meet you kind of through the screen here with the question. Well, I've had lots of conversations with purchasing sides, contracts and that with the VA. But nothing has really developed other than them purchasing equipment from us. as far as prosthetic devices. I'm not really sure if that answered your question or not.
Oh, can the Moto knee be used for water sports?
Absolutely. Yeah, wakeboarding, water skiing, diving. Well, I mean, I suppose you could use it for diving, but it is a stable knee system when you're walking around in current or kicking your legs. You'd have to figure out a different foot system that would allow it to plantar flex the correct way. But yeah, totally use it in the water. Salt water is a little different story. It's very corrosive, and over time it'll definitely start to corrode certain parts of the Moto knee.
It's job security for you though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Any other questions for Mike Schultz, Monster Mike? All right, well, I can't thank you enough. It was absolutely inspiring. To be able to meet you is a treat. It's an honor. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Mike. For those of you tuned in, let's see, we are not just celebrating tonight. This is May We Help's 10-year anniversary. So we are celebrating all week long. On the 29th, we have another big event coming up. And I'm sorry, I was talking to Mike in this monitor. I should be talking to everybody over here. We are not just celebrating tonight. We're celebrating all week. It's our 10-year anniversary, so we're gonna go for it. So on the 29th, we have another big event. I'll be teaching a cooking class. As I shared with you, I used to live in Aspen. We owned Cooking School of Aspen. And I love teaching cooking. So please tune in for that. Between now and then, we'll be sending out emails on a daily basis with all kinds of cool videos that we've created for you to show and highlight the work of May We Help's amazing volunteers. So if you're not receiving our emails, please write this down and email Katie, Katy, at maywehelp.org, and she will make sure that you are getting our emails. If you want to support the work of May We Help's volunteers, you can do that very easily. Go to www.maywehelp.org, and right there you can click to donate. You can click to sign up for the cooking class. You can click to see what awesome items we have in our auction. We are basically, our homepage is hosting our May We Help 10-year anniversary celebration. So just go there to help support the work of the May We Help volunteers. We can't thank you enough. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and thank you again to Monster Mike. It was awesome.